What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a very quick update about SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, SPY had this dip all the way down towards the 620 area. Then it bounced, went back up to 627, came back down, bounced, came back down, bounced. So you guys can see that's the pattern that is perpetuating on SPY. Now, SPY is currently trying to hold above 625. If that holds, I could see an attempt to try to retest the all-time high. Now, if we were to hypothetically lose 623.5 near the 20 EMA, this could dip back down to like 620. As long as we're above this green line right here, we're favoring the upwards direction for now. Now, we had some data that just came out. Keep in mind that our retail sales data was basically above expectations, showing some strength. Export and import prices are very close to expectations, and everything else is not bad. Initial jobless claims is kind of low, and then simultaneously data from the Philly Fed is looking decent. That's why the market's holding up quite well, at least thus far. So good news so far. We're getting some like positive, affirmations. And simultaneously, I just want to remind you all we have some Fed speakers today. We have Kugler from the Fed and Cook giving some speeches. Now, some news about President Trump. He mentioned that he's sending letters to 150 different countries about the tariffs, and he's going to be incentivizing them to make more trade deals. That's the same news we heard before. President Trump also repeated that he's going to be tougher on pharmaceutical companies, and he's going to once again, increase the tariffs on them by August 1st. So he's giving us a big warning about that. He also mentioned that there could be a deal coming with Vietnam, but we need more details first. I'm going to wait for some more details first before making more announcements. That is kind of optimistic for the markets for now. That's part of why the market's trying to push, but I need more confirmation first, and that's still some good news. Besides that, we're just seeing the same things coming out for the time being. Just a couple more things. Keep in mind that we had TSMC announce earnings today alongside PepsiCo. And then after market close today, we have Netflix. TSMC did relatively well because they had good growth overall, and their guidance is quite optimistic because they're doing very well so far, and there's high demand for their chips. And then when it comes to what else is going on, President Trump denied that he has plans to fire Jerome Powell, and that's what helped to fuel the market rally. That is, once again, a good piece of news. And then PepsiCo had good earnings, good growth, good guidance. So, with that being said, what does this mean for the stock market moving forward? Well, we talked about how there's this nice looking pattern that tends to develop on SPY. As you guys know, we just like to make higher highs and higher lows. And then every time we dip to major support, we like to bounce. So, we're still doing that. And I think we're looking quite good so far. So with that being said, what's going to likely happen? Well, I do anticipate some upside, but I do want to warn you guys that the closer that SPY gets to the resistance near that 627 area, the more careful you need to be because we don't know exactly how it's going to respond to that, especially looking at the historical data. So keep that in mind, and that's my warning to be a little bit careful the higher we go. When it comes to other tickers out there, we have the QQQ. This is also looking more bullish. Now, if we lose 556, we're looking for a dip back down to 552. But as of right now, we're favoring the all-time high near 560. And we're going to see if the QQQ could break that. We're still breaking out very well, and the market is still bullish for the time being. Keep in mind that when we get to like August, okay, the market does tend to slow down in the month of August because of seasonality and other factors. So I think the market may slow down once we get to August, but we're not quite ready yet. And I think that we have to wait and see. So for now, the market's remaining more bullish, and we're seeing the QQQ going for all-time highs. We're going to see if we can break the 560 area. If that breaks, we're looking for an attempt to go even higher. So make sure you're ready for that just to be safe. And if we crack past 560, we're going to be looking for new all-time highs for like 562.5 or above. So for now, like I said, we're looking more bullish. I think we're doing an absolutely fantastic job at holding up. For the IWM, we look a little bit more bullish. Now, if we were to end up losing 220, there could be a move back down towards 218. As long as we're above 221, though, we're favoring an attempt to push higher for essentially 223. So my guts does tell me this could be pushing higher for 223. So make sure you're ready for more potential upside, especially as time goes on. But for now, like I said, I think we're doing a fantastic job at holding up, and the odds do favor us continuing to hold up as well. So for the IWM, look for a little bit more upside, and we're going to see how it goes, and make sure you're ready for that just to be safe. For other tickers out there, we have ES looking more bullish. Now, as we dip to about 62.50, we like to dip. We like to bounce, excuse me. And as we hit 63.30, we like to reject. So there's potential to push towards the all-time high here at 63.30. I think we could be going a bit higher on ES as well. And that could also be leading SPY higher, which is looking pretty good so far. So I think the odds still are going to be favoring the upwards direction, especially as time goes on. So make sure you're ready just to be safe. And then we're going to be watching our levels just to see where we end up going. For other tickers out there, we also happen to have NQ, which is looking bullish. We're favoring 23,200 or above. And we're going to see if we can break the all-time high. NQ is showing a lot of strength because a lot of tech stocks are starting to push right now. They're pushing as a result of our data and also because of the overall trend. Also, because we're getting some decent data so far, and earnings that are coming out are decent so far. We're going to see how Netflix's earnings goes. But for now, everything is looking good. Everything is decent. There's no major bad news, and the market remains very, very optimistic, at least nonetheless. So that's some good news, at least thus far. For other tickers out there, we have Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has a head and shoulders. Now, if we lose support right here at 116,500, we could be dipping more. We might be testing that. So there could be a small dip on Bitcoin upon open, but watch and see if we can actually bounce off 116,500. If not, we're watching to see if the head and shoulders pans out. So the overall market may try to outperform Bitcoin and push higher, but then we're going to see if there is a risk of downside if we end up turning or not. So make sure you're ready just to be safe. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. So it's very important to be very, very open-minded and prepared for downside, at least for Bitcoin nonetheless. For other tickers out there, we happen to have Tsla. Tesla has a very, very nice accumulation. We're looking bullish. There is a tough resistance at that 325 area. If that breaks, we're looking for 330. But if we lose 313, we're looking for a dip back down. For now, we're favoring a test of 325 or above, as we're seeing a lot of buyers once again defending. So I think that Tesla's going to kind of consolidate near 325, and then we're going to see if we can try to break past it. But for now, that's what I'm essentially looking for. So make sure you're ready and look for a very, very big test near that 325 area. I think there's a very, very good chance we end up retesting that. And then I think we could be pushing for 330 if that breaks. So be prepared just to be safe, everyone. That's going to be very, very key for how we end up moving. For others out there, we have Nvda. Now, Nvda has a gap over here. In case we do end up coming below, right, this over here at 171, we could be dipping to like 171.36. And if we lose 169, we're looking for this bigger gap fill. But what I think could happen is we might dip a little bit and try to bounce. As long as we're above 172.5, we could continue to uptrend for like 174 plus. So the upside potential would still remain if we were to see more buyers come out and defend. So I would argue that the odds still favor the upwards direction for stocks like Nvidia, and you want to be very, very patient, at least nonetheless, as we start to see more of these buyers defend. So what direction are we favoring? The answer is upside for Nvidia. There's a very, very good chance we try to continue this trend upwards, so keep that in mind. For a few more, we have Appl. We're looking more bullish, favoring 212. AMD is looking more bullish. We might retest 160 to fill the gap, then bounce for 162. Coinbase is consolidating here, might be looking for an attempt for 402 plus. Amazon is kind of flat here. We need to see if it could hold support at 222 or not. So far, it might test 222, and we'll see if it bounces. Meta's favoring 710 or above. Google might be retesting 182. We're going to see if it bounces off that or not. And then Microsoft remains bullish, favoring 510 if this continues. We're also going to watch to see if the VIX loses 17 to start dipping. So that's going to be very key for how we end up moving. So make sure you're ready, guys, and you watch all your different levels because the market's going to be looking very interesting. But for now, as I'm speaking, the market does look a bit more bullish, and we're going to see a temporary push higher. Then we'll see how we end up reacting to resistance. Will we get a rejection or not? But for now, like I said before, the buyers are defending, and we're doing a great job at holding up. So watch resistance. Let's see if we could break out to the all-time highs, and do we reject or not off of them? We could try to push higher looking at SPY and the QQQ for now. So make sure you watch your levels and do what you have to do, guys. I thank you all so much for listening. So please have a very awesome rest of your guys' days. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening and peace out.